water.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also note that this is the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. Also know that I am a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And we have, for the Dr. Vibe family, a new friend, another new friend on the platform. But for Dr. Vibe, this is an old friend who's come back from back in the day. We're not going to talk about our old times today because she said she has 2 hours. I ain't going to go into 2 hours because that's too much. And one of the great things is she hasn't lost her laugh. She hasn't lost her smile. But I'm going to introduce her properly. Kike-Lola Odusanya is the founder of My Boss Is Me, a virtual global business and personal development firm. She is, quote, a serial entrepreneur, unquote, and a networking marketing industry professional, best known for her straight shooting, results-driven approach to her business and life. And she hasn't changed, and that's a positive thing, but she laughs a little bit more these days. She believes in entrepreneurial experience, encompasses life skills that all women should develop as a way to reach their fullest potential. That's why she refers to the entrepreneurial experience as the ultimate life skill. She is on a mission to help women around the world see their deepest desires and dreams come true to fruition through what she calls, quote, the gift of entrepreneurship, unquote. She realizes ownership is not for everyone, but she believes all women can benefit from exploring the mindset, talents, and knowledge of successful entrepreneurs and take control of their lives by proudly declaring, my boss is me. So we are going to have her speak about this book, which she sent to me, and I'm so thankful, and I read it. And let me just put it out there. You just don't need to be a lady to read this book. There's a lot of things that men can gather from this book. So don't shut down the broadcast, guys, saying, oh, it's a ladies thing. No, no, no. Keep it open. Keep your eyes and your ears open. So welcome to our conversation. Kike, how are ya?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a blessing. I mean, I've been following her, not stalking her for the last number of years and seeing how she has grown. And I'm very proud and very blessed that she's taken time out of her positive, productive schedule of her family, her God, and her business ventures to share with us this evening. And you know what? You're going to get something out of this, so stay on it. It's going to be good. So, Kike, like we like to do, I know a little bit about your story, but you're the first time on with the Dr. Vibe family. Can you share some of your background with us?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Ed, aka Dr. Vibe. I truly appreciate and am excited about being here with you tonight. For those of you who don't know, my name is Kike-Lola Odusanya, and I'm the founder of My Boss Is Me. I help women of color plan, launch, and grow profitable businesses and ultimately give them the option of quitting their 9-to-5. I've been full-time entrepreneur for the last 10 years. As you mentioned earlier, I cut my entrepreneurial teeth in the network marketing industry. I did that for several years and was extremely successful at that. And I, sorry about that. I did that for several years and was extremely successful, and then got a little fatigued with some of the things that come along with being a professional in that industry. And so people started to ask me if, you know, I could help them grow their business or how I had the success I did. And so the coaching aspect of my now business was born. And that's where My Boss Is Me stems from.
So I don't want to give away too much of the book, but you have had a challenging background. There were some serious challenges in your background. And I just want to know if you can just share some of the highlights, because obviously I want people to buy the book, but I think it's important that they get to know a little bit of some of the journey that you have had? Because I think that's part of the success of My Boss Is Me.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the book is the first time wow. It's amazing.
Can you tell folks, is she popular or what?
Let me put this on mute. Sorry, Ed. I should have did this before. I thought I turned. Oh, here we go. Here's the volume. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so the book is actually the first time I publicly have spoken about being a teenage mom. It's the first time. I mean, people obviously know it's not a secret per se, but it's the first time I've actually publicly spoken or written about the whole teenage pregnancy thing. So I think the challenges began when I chose to have a baby at such a young age. But it's funny because when you do have a child when you're that young, it can do two things. It can hold you back in some senses, or it can actually propel you, because depending on the individual, it can cause you to get really focused. And that's essentially what happened in my case. And so from there on, I went on to the book I started the troubles in my life in the book in 2007 because I really became a full-time entrepreneur out of necessity. In 2007, I was diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism and a massive blood clot that stemmed the entire length of my leg. And as you know, I'm very tall. I'm 6'1". So I had an extensive clot. The specialist at the time said it was the most formidable case he's ever seen. I was disabled for 6 months. I basically had to, learn how to walk again, all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, my 11-year relationship fell apart. I just had a new baby. I was faced with a maternity leave that I thought was going to be a time to explore entrepreneurship getting cut in half. So a whole bunch of stuff happened at the same time in 2007. And it really helped me to put a lot of things into perspective. And I just basically realized at that time that it was really now or never. Like, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to go back to doing something that I really, really wasn't enjoying. And I figured since I kind of just escaped death, like, why the heck not? Right? Now, so what do you have to lose?
So let me ask you, during that period of time, what kept you going?
Other than my faith, I'm not really sure. Like, when I really look back at the decisions I made during that period, I ask myself oftentimes what I was thinking. But the reality was, I don't think I was thinking too much, and that's why I was able to do what I did. During the time that I got sick, somebody had introduced me to The Secret, and I watched it every single day, like every day. Like, I could basically say The Secret verbatim. And a lot of people, they watch The Secret, and then they're like, oh, that's a great movie. Oh, I'm going to do a vision board. Oh, I'm going to try to manifest things. But I actually studied The Secret. So I would watch The Secret and have a pen and paper, and I would write down all of the things that they would tell you to do. I would complete all of the exercises. There was a lady in the movie that said she had stage 4 cancer. Have you seen the movie yet?
Yeah, Dr. Vibe has. Dr. Vibe has.
Yeah, so there was, sorry, Dr. Vibe.
It's okay.
So there's a part in the movie where there's a lady who has stage 4 cancer, and she basically talks about manifesting her health back, or getting herself back into optimal health through the power of her mind. And so although I was given a very grim diagnosis, I decided that that's just not what was going to happen. Because I'm 6'1", here I have a walker, the doctor says you're going to have a limp leg, and I'm like, really? It's not possible. Like, I'm too young, too cute, too fly. Like, I can't be going out with a walker. Like, no. It's just not going to happen. And so I literally took it upon myself to get myself back to an optimal state. And that's really just what happened. It's funny because when I went back to the doctor, he asked me, he said, do you believe in a higher power? And I said, yeah, I believe in God. He said, well, you have to believe in something because you have defied everything that I went to medical school for. Like,
wow.
you're literally a walking miracle. What has happened makes zero sense. And so I was told I was going to have to be taking medication for the rest of my life, all this stuff, and none of that is the case.
Well, that's only blessings, you know that? Only a higher power. That's fantastic. Where did the thought process of becoming an entrepreneur, when did that enter into your journey?
It's funny, I was talking about that earlier today, and the reality is, for me, I always kind of had this way about me, but I never attributed it to entrepreneurship. Like, I never liked to follow the rules. I never liked to be told what to do. I always kind of had I like to refer to as a disobedient spirit about me. I always wanted to kind of do my own thing. But until I actually became an entrepreneur, I never attributed those characteristics to wanting to be an entrepreneur necessarily. I kind of just attributed them to me being dissatisfied with my place of employment. It never really 100% clicked to me until after the fact that I realized that all of the things that people kind of spoke about with regards to me were a result of me really being suited for entrepreneurship. But when you don't have examples around you and you're not exactly sure how to articulate what you're feeling or experiencing, sometimes you don't realize those things until later. But I think it was always there. I think that a small percentage of the society, we are innately wired for entrepreneurship. I believe that it's just the way I was born. Just like some people are wired to be, great athletes or, like Beyonce. There's probably nothing else Beyonce was really born to do, whether she realized it or not. In the beginning, I think that's kind of where she was supposed to end up. Great athletes, Michael Jordan, he was probably not going to be anything but an incredible basketball player. He may not have realized it when he was 4 or 5, but ultimately, because of the way he was and his discipline, etc., that's where he ended up. And I feel like I feel the same with myself and entrepreneurship.
So, is there anything in your family background of entrepreneurs, or were you the break the mold person?
My dad is entrepreneurial. He also, took a stab at entrepreneurship. He had various businesses when I was growing up. He was a salesperson. He sold insurance. He also had, different hair care lines. So I had hints of it, but it was never something that I was kind of groomed for.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask a little small favor. I'm going to ask you if you can just move your camera down just a little, because we're just okay. That's perfect. Right there is perfect. Right there.
Yeah, it's wobbling, so I'm trying to get it to stay. There we go.
Okay, that's better. Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for that. So when you started the journey of entrepreneurship, 2-part conversation piece. Let me start. What did your family think?
I know when I told my mom that I was going to quit my job, she thought I was suffering from postpartum depression and that I needed to see someone. I'm not sure exactly what she thought. She probably thought much of the same, like what she thinks right now, which is she doesn't fully understand everything. But she knows I'm doing something. She knows that there's been success. She knows that there's also been a lot of tears. She doesn't understand it fully. I'm not really sure what she thinks. I do know that she wishes the best for me, like most moms, but I'm not 100% sure what she thinks. Okay. I've never really asked her.
What about your close friends? What did they think about you making this journey, starting this journey?
To be completely honest, I'm not really sure what anybody thinks, and I never really asked anybody, or Dr. Vibe, I never really asked anybody. I know some people wonder why I don't just have a traditional job. I know some people think that, I'm, you know, brave, or that I'm doing stuff that they just couldn't do. I'm not really sure specifically what they think, because I realize that my journey has nothing to. I've never been one to expect the support from them, so I'm not sure what they think. I don't know if that makes sense.
No. I fully understand where you're coming from. I want us, as we got a little background about you, I want to get into the book. Now, it sounds that it took a long time to write. Am I correct?
No. It didn't take a long time to write.
Okay, so let me ask, when did the idea come to write the book?
The idea came to me late last year.
Oh, okay.
And I literally was able to have a brain dump and get the majority or all of the book out within like a 3 or 4 day space. It was me and the computer, and it just got it all out. The hard part, the lengthy part, came with making sense of what I got out.
Okay.
Properly, making it, you know, making it make sense, making all the boss notes in order. Because I was talking to one of my mentors, and she was explaining to me, you know, which people have been telling me for years, how important it is to have a book, how important it is to position yourself as an expert, all of this stuff. And I was adamant about not writing a book for just writing a book's sake. I wanted something that was real, that had substance, that I would feel proud to put my name on. And during the conversation, while I was talking to her, the idea came to me. I made a comment like, oh, I wish somebody had shared that with me, or I wish I knew this. And it's like, it just dawned on me that I should kind of write down everything that I wish I knew, or everything that hopefully would save somebody some heartache while they're on their own journey, or have them have a different perspective about what the journey is supposed to look like. Because entrepreneurship, especially nowadays, it's made to seem like it's so glamorous, right? And a lot of times entrepreneurs are showing the highlight reel. They're showing all of the best parts of the success after the fact. It's like they say you see the glory, but you don't know the story. Whereas I kind of highlight all of the not so glamorous parts that people should look out for, or have somebody who's read the book already told me that it's like one huge heads up, like, you know, all the things that they should look out for. And I thought that was a great way to describe the book, because it's not another how-to manual. It's a memoir slash series of life lessons wrapped in my personal experiences.
So it didn't take long to write, but when I just want to delve a little bit further on this, how long were you thinking of writing a book? Or did it just not that long? I
was actually against writing a book.
What?
Number one, I don't consider myself a writer. That was the first problem. That was the first obstacle I had to overcome. I actually never saw myself becoming an author the way I did. I always thought that I would be hiring a ghostwriter.
Wow.
I never actually thought I was going to be able to write a book myself. I never had a desire to write a book, to be completely honest. It literally just happened.
Right. How much did mentorship help you in doing and completing the book?
Greatly. In fact, if it was not for her, this book probably would not be here.
Good stuff. Well, you know what? I'm just going to slide that in, because what we're going to do, folks, people who are watching either live or read, I'm going to just open up different pages in this wonderful book. I'm going to play it here. There we go. This wonderful book. And just get Kike's thoughts on entrepreneurship based on some of the little life lessons that she's labeled there. So, quickly, how important is having coaching / mentorship when it comes to entrepreneurship?
It makes a huge difference. I don't want to say it's everything, but it's a huge part of having success, because you can only be so accountable to yourself in so many areas. It's almost like stretching yourself at the gym, right? You can stretch yourself. You can, you know, get a pretty good stretch, but you can only stretch yourself so far. If you have somebody else helping you to stretch, that person's going to be able to stretch you further beyond what feels comfortable to you. And so for me, I personally wish I found out about coaching earlier. I didn't know such a thing existed. I didn't realize it was something that I could, I could acquire. I had no idea. And so coaching earlier on would have saved me a lot of tears, a lot of money, a lot of frustration, a lot of time spent in my head, not knowing that what I was feeling was normal, or knowing what I could have been doing. I could have been doing things differently. It could have saved me a lot of things, a lot of stress, money, because like you were saying, one of the things that happened to me earlier on is I didn't really have a lot of entrepreneur friends. And so I used to isolate myself from people who would work, right? Because I felt like, okay, I'm doing something different, so I have to hang around the people that are doing what I'm doing. And so that isolation oftentimes causes a lot of things to happen that, are not necessarily good for you. Right? You spend way too much time in your head. You can get extremely sad. You start feeling like you're the only person in the whole world that's going through what you're going through, which is completely impossible because there's like 7 billion people in the world. So I think coaching is a huge part. Depending on the level of success you want to achieve, I think it's absolutely imperative.
Excellent. Well, just want to shout out to the people who are watching live via YouTube, and I know you probably have some people watching through Instagram. One of the faithful people that I have watching via my YouTube channel is Tachi, Dr. Tachi, who hosts a great program called Mediascope, which is all about media and culture, pop culture, on Periscope every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And she is agreeing with you, saying, indeed, coaching is so necessary.
It is.
And it's funny because my coaching mentor said to me the other day, people think that it's people who are not doing well that are hiring coaches these days. He said it's people who are doing well and want to do better that are hiring coaches these days.
Absolutely. And I know, like, because of the industry that I came from, personal development is huge. Personal development is everything. For you to withstand all of the rejection and opinions and negative opinions that people have about network marketing, you need to be more than mentally tough. And so personal development and coaching and mentorship is a huge part of it's a huge part of having success in that industry. So I always knew it was important. I just didn't realize it was available to me in different aspects, different ways. Right? Because when you're in network marketing, it kind of like the coaching, and it's not necessarily coaching, but the personal development part, it's just a part of what you're doing. I didn't realize that I could actually go out there and hire somebody that could help me specifically get from one place to the other place in my business. And so, yeah, coaching, personal development, it's everybody I know who's achieved a certain level of success, whether it's a 6-figure business or 7-figure business, has received coaching.
Absolutely. So important. And I was reading the book, and one of the first people that really influenced you was Tony Robbins.
Yeah, funny enough.
Yeah.
Funny enough. Should I say this online? I'm not a huge fan of his, but he was the first. He was the first person, and like, one of the things I had just started college, and one of his late night commercials came on. Yes, I remember them too. Right? And I was like, when he was talking about all the results that you can get in this different life, because one of the things, having a daughter at such a young age, I always vowed to ensure that she wasn't exposed to some of the things that I feel could have possibly attributed to my decision to even have a daughter at that age, like to think that it was even okay. And so when he was, talking about all the results you can get from weight loss to improve, life, to all this, whatever he was saying, I was like, I need this in my life. And I ordered it right away.
Wow.
I used to listen to those tapes religiously.
You see, she can talk back in the day, folks. She's saying tapes, not CDs. She's saying tapes.
Tapes. They were tapes.
Absolutely. So that tells you she goes back. It's important. So let me throw another, I guess, one of your life lessons. And a lot of people don't talk about this much. So this is why I'm highlighting it, the importance of structure when you're an entrepreneur.
Structure is very important. For me, I think, when you first become an entrepreneur, there's like we were saying, there's so much that people don't tell you. And the fact that you have nobody to tell you what to do can kind of go to your head, right? You feel like a free agent. You feel like you could do whatever you want, but the reality is you cannot do whatever you want and still be successful. You cannot sit around all day and watch TV. You cannot, not go to meetings and make the appropriate phone calls and do the income generating tasks that are necessary to hit your financial goals. You need structure, you need a routine, and you need to be the boss of yourself. You need to force yourself to do the things that are necessary so you can be successful. But I had a really hard time with that at the beginning, because I was like, well, I'm self-employed, so I don't want to do this, and I don't have to do this, and I don't want to go here. But the reality is I had to have a conversation with myself. I think it was actually through a training that I attended with Lisa Nichols in the previous company I was with, that she was talking about how we are so resistant. We want to resist structure, and we want to resist routine. But in order to really have the success that we're looking for, it is so mandatory that we put something in place. So I know for me, I don't do well with the hour by hour, minute by minute kind of schedules, but I do have a structure that I follow every day. I know what I'm doing during the weeks. Mondays, I know what I do. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, coaching. Friday, I have structure to my week so that I'm able to be the best steward of my time possible.
Nice. So flashback, compare your life when you didn't have structure compared to now when you do have structure. How much of a different Kike are we seeing or encountering from pre-structure to now structure? How much of a difference has it made in your life?
Huge difference. And I think the lack of structure was just I think a lot of the lack of structure was coming from not understanding how to gain structure, right? Because I was listening to all of these different people talk about how they achieve structure in their lives. But once I recognized that I needed it, I implemented it pretty early on out. It wasn't like years later, but the Kike with more structure has gotten way more results. There was a period of 5 years that I went without watching any TV. I had no idea what was on the TV. I didn't know about any of the series. I didn't know. I remember one day going to Walmart and wondering why it was so busy. Everybody was grabbing water, you're in line for an hour. And I asked somebody what's going on, and she's like, you didn't hear about the storm that's coming? I had no clue about what was going on if it had nothing to do with my business. For 5 years, I didn't watch any TV. And that was a result of me trying to discipline myself. And that's really the period in my entrepreneurial career that I had the most success, because I was so disciplined with my time and my energy and everything I was doing.
That's well, 5 years.
5 years, I didn't watch any TV until one of my cousins said to me, why are you punishing yourself? Why don't you want to watch TV? It's okay, you can watch TV now. She was so confused, but she didn't realize that that's what I had to do to get me to where I needed to be, because I had so much fine tuning to do. I always say that my first 18 months of entrepreneurship, I was shedding my old self. I was literally shedding the person I was and becoming the person that I wanted to be. And in order for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but in order for me to kind of get to where I wanted to go, I had to let go of a lot of things that were not serving me, and TV was a huge one. I still to this day do not watch the news. The only time I hear about news is through social media, or my mom, or a family member, or if I'm at the nail salon, it's always on the news channel. Other than that, I don't watch the news till this day. I haven't watched the news since 2007.
Wow. So let me ask it, because you do a lot of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of the clients that you deal with, you have to sort of help them get to that state that they just really need to focus and get the distractions out of their way?
I would say probably 99%.
That's what I thought.
All of them. I
That's
would
what I
say
thought.
there's a level of, I talk about mindset, mental toughness, and personal development with all my clients. One of the things that, you know, we focus on first is retraining the brain. That's the first chapter in this book, right? Because it's so important that people unlearn a lot of the things that they think they knew. Because this is a whole other ball game. So personal development, getting your mind ready, understanding how important it is to work on your brain as much as you do your body on a daily basis is something I talk to every single one of my clients about.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. I think that you have to be disciplined, not only mentally, physically, but emotionally. And, you know, reading throughout your book, it's just been great. Another thing too, a lot of entrepreneurs like to do, and I want you to share about, is talk less, do more.
Mm.
You know, like where I come from, about my heritage, say when you do something, you're bossy, talk about it. But you're saying talk less, do more. Share about that as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm saying to do what you need to do and let your success speak for itself. Right? You can be boasty all you want when you have got something done, but a lot of people spend a lot of time announcing things, talking about what they're going to do, talking about what they have in the pipeline, talking about, oh, I was here and I spoke to this person and I did this today, and oh, I have things cooking in the lab. There's all these announcements going on and nothing's really happening. So the whole talk less and do more was stop talking about what you're going to do and just do it. Just get out there and do it, because your success, your consistency, you showing up on a consistent basis, all of those things will speak for itself. You know, when I got into one of the network marketing companies that I got into, I went from zero to maybe $250,000 in 5 months. And that's because all I did was work, right? I didn't talk about how successful what I was going to be. I didn't talk about how much people I was going to recruit. I didn't talk about it. And you then became recognized for your efforts, right? It's the same thing. I just apply that to every area of my life. I announce things when they're done, not while I'm doing them or before I'm doing them. If I announce something before it's completed, it was announced strategically to allow people to know that it's coming, but it's probably almost done.
Mm-hmm. I believe in that philosophy. One of my mentors along the way told me, just let your actions speak.
That's it.
You know,
that's it. A lot of people are just speaking, and it's a lot of hype. Nothing's really happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like when there's people I will call up and they will say, I'm busy. And I'm saying, busy doing what? I don't see anything. What's happening? A lot of times in entrepreneurship, there's the area of target market. So I want to get your slant on the importance of a target market and how to determine your target market as an entrepreneur from your perspective.
Well, target market is so important, because if you don't know who your target market is, don't know who your ideal client is, you won't know who you're speaking to or how to serve them, right? And I think that when you start off with any business, you have an idea of who your target market is, but it becomes refined and a true target market through trial and error, right? You're going to have an idea of who you think it might be, but by going out there and speaking to the people who are attracted to you, you will find out more about that person. But finding out who they are allows you to find out where they are, allows you to target them, and allows you to put yourself in a position to be seen by the people who need what you have.
What percentage of your clients, when they come to you, know, in your opinion, know their target market?
A lot of my clients are beginners, so
okay.
I think maybe half of my clients have an idea
Right.
of who they think they want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
I help them really dig a little bit deeper, and really, I have an exercise that I do that helps them kind of you're creating your target. I have an exercise that walks them through actually developing a person versus a bunch of people.
Nice.
As their target market, so that they have to name that person. They have to tell me where that person lives. Is that person married? Are they single? What level of education do they have? What do they drive? What do they drink? Are they a wine, Starbucks, Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts? What do they dial? Do they have an iPhone or an Android? So I walk them through the exercise of actually really honing in on a person. It's just like when you go to church, right? And I actually use this as a description in the beginning of this exercise. When you go to church, even though the pastor is talking to the entire congregation, if you're getting a good word and you have a good pastor, you feel like that pastor is only talking to you. You don't feel like nobody else is in the church. You're looking for tissue. You feel like you're the only one receiving this message. But the reality is that the pastor is talking to everyone in the church, right? But the person who is really, who the word is really resonating with will be really touched by what they say. So by going through by going through the exercise of trying to identify your ideal client, you're going to only get so far. It's not until those people through that exercise become more attracted to you, and then you spend your time talking to those people, that you will really find out who they are.
I could not agree more. One of the exercises I do, especially with start off entrepreneurs, I ask them if they can give me 7 characteristics of their target market. And if you don't have, just me, if you don't have 7, go back and do your homework, because the more you know about your target market, the more you can engage with them, the more they'll be able to like you. And when they begin to like you, then the process of marketing and selling to them really begins. But you got to develop your community. You got to know your community.
You have to.
It's so important.
I'm constantly asking questions. I'm constantly, talking to people that are kind of diehard followers in the DM. I want to know, what do you guys do for a living? Where do you live? Do you have a husband? I'm constantly getting to know the people, and I genuinely feel like some of them are my friends. They are the person that I wrote down, how many years ago, and continue to refine and get to know. Growing and honing in on your target market is the same as getting to know somebody. It's the same as developing a friendship. The more you spend time with that person, the more you ask questions, the more you are genuinely interested in building a relationship and getting to know them, is the more they're going to reveal. And it's the more you're going to learn about them. And you will get to a point, I have a best friend, and I could literally buy her clothes. I went with her husband to pick out her wedding ring. I could tell you what her favorite food is. Nice. I could go to a hair store in the States and buy a wig for her, because I know her. I know what perfume she likes. She likes Chanel, cologne. I know everything about her, and she knows everything about me. But that came with time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's the same relationship you ultimately want to cultivate with the people, your ideal audience.
It's an investment.
Absolutely. And it takes time. You can only take a stab at trying to understand your target market. Your target market, you will only really understand them when you get a few in the door, and then you start to ask questions. You can only figure out so much in your head.
So this leads into another life lesson that you have in the book, My Boss Is Me, about it takes time. It's not an overnight success. Share a little bit about that for our entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs. It's not an overnight thing, and you're a great testimony to it, but share the importance of having that thought process.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when, like I said, entrepreneurship has become this glamorous reel of highlights. And I think that people, when they start to witness somebody else's success, they have no idea of how many years they were working, how many years they were grinding, how many tears they've cried, how many times people told them no. They just think all they're seeing is all the success that you're having. And you know, there's somebody that I love. Her name's Lovey Ajay. She wrote the book I'm Judging You.
Okay.
And she's having massive success right now. She's on every platform, speaking with every thought leader. She's going literally around the world with her book. But what I love about her is every time people ask her how she got there, she's like, oh, well, I've been blogging for 14 years. 14 years. She started blogging in her dorm room in college or university. She's now blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you look at any person, any successful person, they have put in the work. It requires time. When you work with a professional, when you work with somebody who's gone there before you, you may get there a little faster, but it still takes time. And I think we live in such a microwave society where we expect everything to happen fast. We expect to hit a button and it's going to come out and it's going to be perfectly done and ready to go. And life doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And people have to understand that it's a process and you are literally becoming a new person. And that's not going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And that's the thing I share with a lot of entrepreneurs, that if you're not successful, a lot of times because you haven't done enough work.
Yeah. And my mentor said something to me the other day. She said, most people quit before they actually learn what's required to be successful.
Very good point.
It's like you're on a journey to learning new skills, new ways of doing pretty much everything, right? And right before you actually have that breakthrough is basically almost when you've gotten a certain level of understanding of what you're actually doing. And before people get there, they oftentimes quit. And it's sad because they're thinking it's supposed to happen so fast. But you got to learn stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a lifelong learner.
Absolutely.
You know,
you always be constantly learning.
You know, a lifelong learner, and be humble.
Always. Be
humble. Very, very key. I know another end is sometimes you have to shed some tears.
I shed a lot of tears.
Again,
the first 18 months, I literally cried almost every day. And that's for real.
Wow. Wow.
There was not a day that I didn't share tears, whether it was tears of joy because I can't believe I did something, or tears of like, oh my God, am I really going to be able to do this? The first year was like rough for me. I was really shy. I didn't like to speak to people. I couldn't introduce myself to anybody. All of the things that were required to kind of like really go out there and make it happen, I had to really work at. It took me a long time.
Okay, so just that fact right there, do you remember a turning point? Because you said you didn't like to talk with you. Do you remember one or two key turning points in the journey? Like, for example, when did the not being able to talk to people begin to turn?
Well, two things. My mentor at the time was an older Persian man.
Yeah.
His name was Q Daddy, and he used to always say, "Dale, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk to people, or you want to go back to your job?" Like, he used to make it that matter of fact for me. Either you learn how to do this, or you're gonna do this. It's one or the other. And 6 months into me doing at the company that I was with, somebody did what we call the BPM on fear. And I'll never forget it. The guy's name was Nasir, and he was talking about how you have to overcome your fear and what fear is doing, to why fear is going to inhibit you from having the life that you want. And it was that night that I actually stood up for the first time and introduced myself to a room of people that I had been seeing twice a week, every week for 6 months.
You're like, kidding.
No, it was that. I kid you not. This is a serious thing. So I know, I used to say this all the time. I used to say that if I can do it, anybody else can do it. But I had another mentor who actually changed my perspective on that. I think that anybody who really wants to,
yes,
can learn the skills that are necessary to be successful in any area of your life. You can learn how to lose weight. You can learn how to become an entrepreneur. Some of us are going to be more predisposed to a certain skill than others. There's some people are genetically just, more athletic. They're like born with muscles. You know those people?
Oh yeah.
They just blow, and they're like turn into. I have a friend like that. And he's like turns into the Incredible Hulk overnight, right? But that doesn't mean somebody who's not genetically wired or predisposed in the way he is cannot learn how to lift weights and how to, eat properly. Anybody can learn how to lift weights and eat properly. It doesn't matter who you are. Some people may get there easier, faster, but anybody can learn it. Anybody can learn to become an entrepreneur. It might take that person longer. They may not have some skills that are, they may not have certain skills that come easy to them, but they can if they really, really want to. Anybody can learn how to speak in front of an audience. Right? Anybody can learn how to play the piano. Anybody can learn how to swim. Anybody can learn how to drive a car. Anybody can learn how to do anything they really, really want to do.
Okay. I'm going to need to see if you can put your camera down just a little bit because we're losing a little bit of you. Okay. There's fine. Yep. Leave it right there.
But it won't
stay. Okay. We'll just leave it right there and we'll go with it. We'll go with it. No problem. So, this is interesting. So why did you target this to women? Because I read this book and I said, this is so, I can relate to a lot of this stuff, but why did you target to women? What have women's response to it been? And have you had any men respond to you?
I've had a few. I think I've had like 4 men buy the books. I'm not sure if they bought them for themselves or for their significant other. But I felt like I wrote the book for women because I was thinking about myself in 2007 and what I wish somebody would have told me.
Right.
And so I wrote the book for somebody who potentially could be in my shoes, somebody who may be living in quiet desperation. Maybe she just doesn't know how she's going to get from one part of her journey to the other. Maybe she's concerned about how she's going to pay her bills.
True.
Maybe she's wondering if she can really ever leave her job. Like, I thought about myself, and I wrote this book for that person, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not that I was alienating men.
Right.
But I think that although men will be able to, or any entrepreneur, any person who wants to pursue any dream can relate to it. But I think women will really relate to the stories and to the life lessons on a cellular level. Right? It's like you can appreciate a woman having a baby, but you'll never understand, right? Because you'll never understand unless you actually go through the process yourself.
Nice. Just to continue delving in, what have you noticed about the sharp increase of the number of women getting into entrepreneurship? Because when you started it, it's certainly a different landscape than it is now when it comes to women and entrepreneurship. Why do you feel there's been so much change, and what do you see in the future when it comes to women of, well, you're specializing in women of color and entrepreneurship. What have you seen, and what do you see coming in the future?
Well, I think that technology has played a huge part in the way women are able to do business. I think 10 or 20 years ago, becoming an entrepreneur required so much more. I think that there's a lot of information available to us, literally at our fingertips, right? I think it's a lot. I think following your dreams I think entrepreneurial pursuits are a lot easier and more accessible, They're a lot easier to go after. They're a lot more accessible. And I also think because of all of the information that's available, people are smarter. They're starting to realize what they're worth. They're starting to realize that, hey, I'm closing $1 million contracts, handling $1 million projects, bringing in $1 million to this company. I could probably do this for myself. So I think people are having realizations about what's possible. And because of technology, other people's stories have become more readily available, right? When you see somebody who looks like you, who you can relate to, who's had a certain level of success, that somehow makes it possible for you. That somehow helps you to see that, hey, this girl is just like me. This girl had the same obstacles I had. This girl has less than I have right now. So if she could do it, maybe I can do it too. And I think that there's just more of that happening right now. There's more awareness about what's possible and what's available. And people are sharing more information now than they have ever before. And if somebody really wants to change their life, they could get it pretty much started and underway just by going to Google University.
Yes, you refer to it a lot in your book, Google You or YouTube You.
Google and YouTube You. Like, it's a real thing. You can learn how to do you name a skill. Like, name an ailment, name a book, name anything. You can find it, and for free on the internet. Right, so I was talking to somebody earlier, and I told her Wi-Fi and a good lipstick are changing the game for women, because you literally can create a life out of pretty much thin air. You can sell your knowledge now. You can show people like it is just incredible the things that are accessible to you on Vine. I wanted to learn another language. I wanted to learn my mother tongue. And I literally can hire somebody in Nigeria, pay them hardly any money to sit down on a computer and tutor me and teach me how to speak Yoruba. This wasn't possible 5 or 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. No. And unfortunately, Tachi, who was on earlier, she is from Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just sending her a quick message here saying, hey, come back on, fellow Nigerian in the house, in the house. One of the things that I got mentored in the last few years, and you also highlight, you say in your book about love, and you say, nowadays I focus on treating everyone I come in contact with for business and in my personal life the way I want to be treated. Always remember how you want and like to be treated. And you also say something here, if you really stop to think about it, love should permeate the fabric of your business. Not too many entrepreneurs that I know of get taught that.
I got taught that because I was, if I'm going to be honest, I was displaying the opposite of love. I had been in a situation where I made a lot of money really fast, and it went 100% to my head. My ego was completely out of control, and I had said something to somebody that, now that I look back, I don't even know what spirit overtook my body or why I felt like I could say that to somebody. But that person went to a friend of mine's mom and complained about it. And instead of her kind of, exhibiting the same attitude that I was, she took me aside and she spoke to me. She spoke to me about how important it is to have love, like love at its core, right? People need to understand what love is. Love at its core is an energy. It's understanding. It's peace, right? It's so many things. It's important to exhibit that when you're dealing with other people. Because what I had said to that young lady, I would not have wanted her to say to me. And it may have caused an altercation if she did say it to me. Wow. Who knows what would have happened, right? So it was from that, and then I was rushing. I was so focused on getting to where I was going that I lost sight of all of the of the people that helped me get there, in a sense. I lost sight of people that were also trying to get there. And the reality, I was put in a position of leadership by default. It was based on my efforts and not necessarily my wisdom or my abilities to lead, right? But if you are too much who's given, much is required. And if you're put in a position and you are not a good steward of it, that stuff will be taken away from you, right? So I had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way, right? Because sometimes when you have a certain level of success really quick, you somehow feel invincible. And if you're not prepared, you can lose it as quick as you got it. So that love lesson came as a result of me being not so nice, being not so nice to people. And I have apologized to a lot of people that I may have offended, that I may have rubbed the wrong way. And I have been very mindful of the things that I say. I'm still spicy. Like, I still got to just do Kike. I can't help it. But I'm careful now with what I say. And I'm very careful about not just the intentions, but how I think this person's going to feel as a result to what I say. Because sometimes we have this thing like, I'm just going to keep it real and we just got to say whatever. And you don't have to say whatever. And your opinion's not always necessary. And so my thing now is, okay, let's say I'm saying something to, I'm having a conversation with Alana, for example, and there's something that I know that's not necessarily positive, that's not going to positively affect her. I'm not going to share that with her. Right? I just don't feel the need to share that with her. If somebody, or let's say I had a conversation with somebody and somebody told me something about you, Dr. Vibe, I don't feel it necessary to repeat that if it's not going to improve the overall quality of your life. So I've learned to not say a lot, whereas before I used to say whatever I felt like and whatever came to my mind, and whoever didn't like it, then whatever, I'm just keeping it real. That's BS, right? This keeping it real stuff, if you're keeping it real at the expense of somebody's feelings, if you're keeping it real at the expense of somebody else's quality of life, then you're being mean.
Can you repeat that? I think people who are watching live, like Curtis and Tachi is back, and people are watching the replay, please repeat. That's a very important point.
Yeah, I said if you are keeping it real at the expense of somebody else's feelings or at the expense of somebody else's quality of life, if you're not uplifting the person or speaking life into that person, you don't necessarily need to say what's on your mind, right? Yeah, constructive criticism is a good thing. Constructive criticism is sometimes necessary, but you have to give it with love. You can't just be tearing people down because that's what's on your mind or because you're keeping it real. That's just not the right way to do things.
Well, Tachi and Curtis, who is our producer, both agree with what you're saying. One of my mentors along the way said, sometimes keeping it real can keep you broke.
Yeah, I believe that.
Absolutely.
And keep you stagnant.
Yes.
And keep you from growing. Because you recognizing when to say and what to say to people is a sign of growth. And it's a sign of wisdom. It's a sign of discernment. It's a sign of you are now thinking about somebody else other than yourself. Because oftentimes people who keep it real, they're not thinking about anybody but themselves. They are releasing the need to share their opinion. But is your opinion going to make somebody better? Is your opinion going to help somebody? Is your opinion going to improve this person's life? And if it's not, why are you sharing it? That's the question. You need to ask yourself, why am I saying this thing that I'm saying? And how is it going to impact this person? And so that's how I think now. That's how I move forward through life. Because sometimes, you just don't have to point things out all the time. Especially us as people of color, West Indians, African. We feel like we can just say whatever's on our mind all the time. Somebody's gained a little weight, how you so fat? Or what happened to you? Like they just feel like you don't have to always say things.
Yeah, Kike is giving some good thought process here, folks. I hope you're either catching it live or on the replay. It is money, and she is out of bounds, and I mean that in a good way. She's being really out of bounds, and Tachi is loving your thought process that you're sharing. What I'll do is I'm going to just, there's so many things I want to have you share with, but you know what? They have to buy the book. So I'm going to ask you as a final thought process, you say about you can't be a prophet in your own land. I think this is outstanding thought process, so I want you to bring it for our audience. This is good stuff.
You can't be a prophet in your own land. And you not being a prophet in your own land means the people that have always known you will always know you for what they know of you. Oftentimes, those people are not exposed to who you are becoming, right? They have no idea what you've been doing to condition your mind, to learn new skills. It's like, my mom is always going to think of me as her daughter. I'm little Kike, right? My aunts are always going to think of me as their niece. I'm little Kike. My family's always just going to know me for who I am. And oftentimes, people in your past or people who've always known you, they can't see the person you're becoming because they themselves are still the same, right? They can't see, they can't recognize. They say real recognizes real, right? So if that person's still the same, how are they going to ever recognize growth? How are they going to recognize this new person you've become? So me saying you can't be a prophet in your own land means you can go somewhere totally different where nobody knows you, nobody knows your past, nobody knows all your flaws, and they're literally basing their interaction with you on face value. They're basing their interaction with you on what you're saying to them at a given time. It's not tainted by all of the things that they remember about you from before. And so telling people they can't be a prophet in their own land means don't be worried about the people who know you and what they think. I remember when I was doing network marketing, I had a team of over 6,000 people. And so somebody on my team was telling somebody I went to high school with who I was actually really good friends with that, oh my God, there's this girl, this African girl, she's, because you know my name, right? So there's this African girl, she's making all this money, you need to come out to the meeting. And the person said, oh, who is she? What's her name? And so when they told that person who I was, they're like, oh, please. I know Kike a long time. I know Kike before she was Kike. But what does that mean?
Right.
What exactly does that mean? So here's this person who could have easily accessed me, right, because of our history together. Here's this person that could have potentially taken advantage of a life-changing opportunity, which she needed and she still needs, right? But because of what she associated with what she thinks she knew or who she thinks I am, she actually missed out on the opportunity to do something else. See, I didn't miss out on the opportunity. The person who shared it with her didn't miss out on the opportunity. She was stuck she was just stuck where she was. So you cannot be afraid to leave people behind. Everybody can't go with you. Everybody can't go with you. And I referenced Jesus in that part because the people that knew him, right? They didn't recognize him. They didn't see him like everybody else did. They didn't want to fall to they didn't see him as this person who could perform miracles. And the reality is that when you become a new person through entrepreneurship, the people who always known you, they're not going to see it until you get to a certain level. Then it's going to become undeniable, and they have no choice but to accept it. There's a difference, right? But the seeing doesn't always happen right away. But if you keep going, right, there's gonna come a point in your career that they have no choice but to just say, you know what, she did that. Regardless of what you think you knew, she did that.
Right. Well, on that point, we're going to end our epic conversation. Kike, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time out of your positive, productive schedule for sharing with us. The mic is open if you want to come back on again. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can find me on the interwebs everywhere at My Boss Is Me. You can also visit my website at www.mybossisme.co, not com.co. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can shoot me an email. I'm very easy to find.
Excellent. Well, we will share all the contact information for this epic conversation in the next day or so. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and you're a solution for someone's problem. Also know I'm a certified empowerment coach, so if you'd like to spend a half an hour complimentary conversation on empowerment with me, I'd love to have you come online with me. You can have a great chat. Going to make it short. Best way to contact me, just go through the website. Best way to listen to epic conversations, just go to the website. So as always, I'd like to say thank you to Tachi and Curtis. Tachi says, great conversation. Tachi says, and Curtis, thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for listening and watching, whether it's live or on the replay. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And two last things. Live your life as a dream. And if you can dream, you can make it. And also, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And thanks for watching. Good night.